very nervous at all.
I think the teams are coming.
You just couldn't describe it, really. It's a brilliant stadium.
Yes, here they come. And on the left, Leicester City.
We'll never lose. It's still one of the best stadiums in the world.
Back full of confidence, this youngster shooting.
The Cup in those days was the tournament.
It's Woolett with him. Summerby back to Young. It's scored by Young.
I wanted to win so much because I remember going to the 63 Cup final when we lost 3-1 to Man United. I stood behind the goal and I remember I cried all the way home because I expected us to win. So I was really determined in 69 we were going to win, and we ended up getting beat 1-0 by Man City.
And it's all over.
I went to the 69 Cup final. I went on the train down from Leicester to London. Massive day out, but it ended up being the most heartbreaking day of a young man's life.
I just remember I just couldn't speak. I've never been so disappointed in my life that we'd lost, yeah.
Peter Shilton was one of my heroes. When I grew up, I was a Leicester City fan. He was the goalkeeper, and he was a great goalkeeper. Unbelievably good. He could, his positional play, his all-round game, his shot-stopping, everything. And I watched him from when I was about 7, 8 years old. I started going to Leicester, and he was just phenomenal.
Now, this is where you do it all, is it? This is your training ground?
Yes, this is our Beaver Drive training ground. It's about 2 miles from Filbert Street.
Well, let's have a look at the boys in action. Will you show me?
Certainly. We can start with Peter Shilton, our goalkeeper, right from the back.
Right, well, there's the lad himself, Malcolm.
Yes,
Shilton.
Peter, 21 years of age. Good professional.
I mean, it was ironic how I made my debut for Leicester because I was still an apprentice, 16, and Gordon was away playing for England, and they didn't postpone the matches. I never forget, it was full house, like 27,000. And there I am, sort of 2:30 of the game. I'm like washing the dressing rooms, putting the boots out and putting my own kit out. And I left about 2:30, went home, had a bit of tea and a sleep, came back, played against Everton, won 3-0, had a solid game, made a couple of saves. The next morning, I'm back in the ground about 8 o'clock, cleaning all the boots and washing the kit. So it was a great experience, but also a great grounding.
As soon as he had a chance of doing some extra work, getting some extra practice in, he would be down there doing it and working hard to better himself.
He was my hero, and I used to watch Gordon, and you could see then the work ethic that Gordon had. He was the first keeper, I think, at the time to go back Tuesday and Thursday afternoons and train and do extra training. And, to me, that was the making of what he did.
When he became a professional, he wanted to make a name for himself and get in the first team to get the experience.
And I did well. And there was a few clubs like sniffing around thinking, well, there's a situation here, although Peter Shilton's 17 and Gordon is England's goalkeeper, and a few clubs are interested in signing me.
So he put the pressure on the club, saying that if he didn't get first team football, he wanted to leave the club, you see. And when I read this in the paper, I just started laughing. Because I think it was only about, what would it be then? 18, 19, round that age, And I thought, oh, Peter, that's a bit cheeky.
I just remember going into the manager and saying, look, if clubs are interested in me, I feel as though I can handle the situation. I don't really want to play in the reserves for 2 or 3 years because we've got, England and probably the world's greatest goalkeeper at the club. If the club want to let me go, I'd be willing to listen to offers.
The manager, Matt Gillis, very rarely came to see us at all, and he pulled me over and he said, go on, he said, you've been reading about Peter. I said, yeah. He said, well, we've had a board meeting last night, and he said, so what would you think about leaving? I couldn't believe it. But he obviously went on to be top-class goalkeeper without any question.
How did your life away from football develop in that time?
I was just so dedicated, really, to football. I never had a social life in any way, shape, or form. But I think, you get to 16 or 17, and you start thinking, well, I ought to go out after a game on a Saturday night. And it was then I obviously met my ex-wife when I was very young, at 17, and we got married. You know, I had two kids. Mike is the eldest one. I mean, he's 41 now, and Sam is the youngest, is 36. A couple of grandkids now, Zach and Summer. And yeah, you know, you're obviously conscious at the time that, you know, that they've got a famous father, but I mean, so did a lot of people, and it was just something I think when you're brought up, you get used to. A lot of pressure on, obviously. I played behind the great Bobby Moore, which was fantastic.
As Bremner takes the corner again for Scotland, it's one they had to win, and it's a tremendous shot there by Dalglish. What a tremendous save that was from Peter Shilton.
But the greatest performance in the world today was from the goalkeeper.
Yes.
England goalkeeper. What a performance.
Teams that whoever win and lose games always have a great goalkeeper. Even Jock Stein says it all starts from the goal.
But now he's had a few games that I think he's playing just as if he's playing his own club side.
Peter Shilton, do you consider your performance in Wednesday's international your best for England?
Well, I think it was the game when I had most to do for playing for England. On the whole, I think that the game against Scotland was my best game for England.
We stand less than 24 hours from the most important game England have played in years, the World Cup qualifier against Poland at Wembley.
We had that famous game under Sir Alf Ramsey when we just failed to qualify for the World Cup. We needed to beat them, and we drew 1-1, and it was probably the worst moment in my career up till then, because everything had gone really well, and I wanted to play in my first ever World Cup in Germany in '74.
The shot is on for Domaski. Oh, and he scored! Domaski's got a goal! 1-0 Poland. A tragedy.
Their goal wasn't a great goal. I allowed a shot to go under my body. We should have won 4 or 5. It was one of those games.
It's over. It's all over. And for England, one of the blackest days they've ever had.
We've seen Shilton make great saves like that, but I mean, he was presumably cold because he'd been out of the action for so long.
He put it in his teeth. If
Yeah.
he'd been involved in any of the actions, that other clown at the other end was.
Yeah, but you
Right.
keep
Caught
calling
it
him,
in his
hey,
teeth.
Brian, you keep calling him a clown, but in fact, that fellow has made some fantastic saves, and he's kept England.
Brian, we've just watched an hour and a half's football now, and the other goalkeeper, the reason why Poland's gone through to Munich next year is because that he did his job well tonight, and he had all the luck that was going. Peter Shilton only had 2 shots, and I thought that Peter Shilton should have stopped that particular one.
You know, obviously we ended up not qualifying for the World Cup, so you know that was obviously a massive disappointment. Gordon Banks was at Stoke at the time. He was like the youth team coach.
You know, I was watching him in training at times and different things of that nature, you know, and then watching him play in the first team. So, and he was doing well.
King. Again he bends the shot and a brilliant save. Peter Shilton has again saved Stoke.
Unfortunately, from then on, the second season, the roof blew off the stand, and it wasn't insured, and they had to sort of sell every player they got really to pay for the rebuilding.
Brian Clough bringing his Nottingham Forest side to London, 4 points clear at the top of the First Division.
I always admired Brian Clough. I knew he'd tried to sign me for Derby County when I was at Leicester.
It's a side with a winning balance to it, a defence that's been strengthened enormously by the signing of Peter Shilton from Stoke City, a goalkeeper that Clough and Taylor have admired for several seasons.
I had a lot of respect for Clough, and I actually phoned him up when he was at Forest and said, look, do you mind if I have a chat with you? You've not met before. And we had a bit of lunch together. I suppose they would say tapping up these days, but it wasn't like that. I just wanted to meet the fellow, and he gave me a bit of a boost.
And again, Shilton to the rescue.
Well, I personally feel, but you know, it's only opinion, obviously, that he's the best goalkeeper in the country. But it's opinion that stimulates the interest in football, whether people get the sack or whether they're retained and all that type of thing. I feel that Peter Shilton is the best goalkeeper.
It was a bit of a kind of situation signing for Forest, actually, because in those days I was one of the first players to have what I called them advisors. They were actually business people from Leicester. So they had pinstripe suits on, briefcases, walked into the City Ground, and I couldn't wait. I just wanted to sign for Forest. And Cloughie stood there, green rugby top, shorts, scruffy trainers with his squash racket. He says, go in there, I'll see you in 5 minutes. So we went and sat in this room. About an hour later, which I learnt later was typical Cloughie trick, he says, the secretary came and says, come and see Mr. Clough now. So we went to go into his office, and I thought I'll let my advisors go first. And all of a sudden, that kind of tripped up and dropped his briefcase and papers flying everywhere. I thought, what's gone off here? I looked down and Cloughie sat on the floor and he's tripping them up with his squash racket. I thought, these negotiations aren't going to go very well. And he didn't really want to speak to them at all. He was really off with them. He just didn't like advisors. He didn't like anything like that. And in the end, the negotiations broke up. I couldn't believe it. I was gutted. So the next morning, I'm at home, the phone goes about 8:30, and it's Cloughie. It says, I want to meet you at a hotel in Derby. So I thought, I'm not missing this chance. So I drove over in my car, walked in, and him and Pete Taylor sat there. They still got a bottle of champagne on ice at 11 o'clock in the morning, opened, and within 15 minutes I'd agreed terms, and I'd signed for Forest. And obviously the greatest part of my career in terms of club football happened. Goalkeepers are born.
It was an obsession, really.
You've been under a bit of pressure this week, really, haven't you?
Everybody makes mistakes in life, and you have to stand and fall by them.
The Football League Championship comes to Nottingham Forest. The championship side put together by those two men, Brian Clough and Peter Taylor. Peter Shilton, the man whose goalkeeping has done so much for this side.
On the day we won the league, you know, I had a very special match for myself. We needed a point to clinch the title, and it was very special for me because I made one of the saves that people will remember in my career. I managed to get a hand to it and twisted it and knocked it over the bar. Finally, you know, to win the championship was unbelievable. We qualified for the European Cup. We were all excited. We were trying to get like one of the top teams in Europe. I don't know, Barcelona or somebody, you know, for the fans to see at the City Ground. And we get drawn against Liverpool. They're only our English club in the British club in the competition who'd won it the year before.
Dalglish. Oh, what a save. Peter Shilton. Beautiful stuff. Not a bad looking cross. Woodcock. And a superb goal. Nottingham Forest, the league champions, beating the European champions 2-0 here at the City Ground in Nottingham.
To take a 2-0 lead to Anfield was a big confidence booster. But we went up on the morning of the game on the team coach. And Cloughie got up and he walked down the coach and said, anybody fancy a beer, lads? This is about 12 o'clock. We're going into Liverpool. And a couple of lads had a beer. I thought, I'm not having a drink. I'm playing at second leg of the European Cup tonight. So we went to the hotel. We were having a meal, lunchtime. And then Cloughie gets up and everyone wanted a glass of wine, lads. And a few of the lads had a glass of wine. And we always joke that Jimmy Gordon had to go around knocking a few of the players up at 4:30 for the tea and toast before we went to the game. But it just completely relaxed the players, you know. It just took the tension out, and we ended up getting a 0-0. And you know, it was a dream come true to finally, you know, get into the competition proper and knock the holders out.
So having knocked Liverpool out of the European Cup, then you go on, obviously, deep into the competition and all the way to a final. Yeah, we do.
A lot of people are saying that Malmo are not a very good side and not obviously not very well known, but they've got to the final of the European Cup and beaten some good sides, so they must be a good side themselves.
You can't do anything at all without getting very, very competent players. We have the world's best goalkeeper, for example. So obviously, we have a pretty strong side.
You want to play well, but the most important thing in any final is winning it and getting the trophy, because people only remember winners. It was Trevor Francis' first European game. Job Robson sort of got half a yard and whipped one of his great crosses in. And Trevor had a lot of work to do to screw his header in, but he managed to get it in the net, and we were 1-0 up. But still, in the last minute, 1-0 up, you're thinking, you've got to be on your toes. You could have a shot any minute, but thankfully the final whistle went and we won it. For that dream to come true was just something that, you know, no matter what else you do in your life, it's something that you'll never ever forget, you know, and it was that moment that we'd done it.
We sent Brian a cake for his birthday last Friday, with Peter Shilton doing the honours for us.
I've been asked to present this to you.
Right, give over.
Birthday.
Oh, bye.
From Brian Moore.
Are you kidding?
I thought it was a bit dodgy.
Are
actually.
you sure you're not kidding? There's not a
All
bloody...
right.
It doesn't blow up, does it?
I don't think so. You better not do it. It's his fault if
Just
it does.
kiss.
Right.